Night covered the broken alien city like a heavy blanket. Cold winds moved through the empty streets, carrying the smell of fire and old battles. Lyra, a young alien woman with silver blue skin, walked slowly through the ruins, holding her small newborn close to her chest. Her baby made a weak sound, and Lyra whispered soft words to calm him, even though her own voice was shaking with fear. She had not eaten in 2 days, and the baby had eaten even less. Her people were gone, her home was destroyed, and she had no money, no food, and no hope left. The sky above her was dark, except for the red glow of destroyed buildings and the far sound of machines hunting for survivors. Lyra knew those machines belonged to the hunters, the enemy species that had destroyed her city. If they found her baby, they would take him away. Because the hunters believed the child carried a rare energy they wanted to use as a weapon, Lyra pressed her child closer, her heart breaking. She could not protect him anymore. She had no strength left. She walked toward the tall cliff at the edge of the city, a place where the wind was strong and the rocks were sharp. She looked down at the deep darkness below. It scared her, but not as much as the thought of her baby suffering in the hands of enemies. Lyra's eyes filled with tears as she whispered, "I am sorry, little one. I have no way to save you." She stepped closer to the edge, her feet trembling on the loose stones. The baby cried softly, and the sound tore through her heart like a blade. Just as she lifted her foot for the final step, a bright light flashed across the sky. A loud humming sound filled the air, and she looked up in confusion. A human patrol ship, metallic and shining, flew low over the cliff, scanning the ground with blue lights. Lyra froze in shock to her people. Humans were not friends or saviors. They were strangers known for their powerful technology and dangerous weapons. She had never seen one up close. She never wanted to. The ship stopped directly above her, and a voice shouted through a speaker, "Life signs detected. Stay where you are." Lyra panicked, thinking the humans would capture her and take her baby for experiments. She stepped closer to the edge, ready to jump before they reached her. But before she could move, a figure dropped from the ship, landing on the cliff with a heavy thud. It was a human soldier in dark armor. He removed his helmet, revealing tired eyes and a face marked by old wounds. "My name is Evan," he said gently, raising his hands to show he carried no weapon. "Please stop. You do not need to do this." Lyra shook her head, tears falling down her cheeks. "You do not understand. I have nothing. I cannot protect my baby." Evan slowly stepped forward, careful not to frighten her. "I understand more than you think," he said, his voice soft but steady. No mother should stand alone like this. The ground trembled as the hunters' engines roared in the distance. Evan looked over his shoulder, then back at her. "If you stay here, they will find you," he said. "Let me help you." Lyra felt dizzy, weak, and terrified. She did not trust humans. But she feared the hunters far more. Her vision blurred, and her legs shook. She whispered one last apology to her baby as her strength vanished. Then everything went dark. She fainted in Evan's arms, and he quickly lifted both her and the baby. "Get us inside," he shouted to his team on the ship. Now, the human ship flew away just as the hunters reached the cliff, searching angrily for their missing target. Inside the ship, Lyra slept with the baby beside her, unaware of what fate waited ahead. Evan stood beside the medical bed, watching her with concern. He had saved her life. But he knew this was only the beginning of a much bigger fight. Hours later, Lyra slowly opened her eyes. The world was bright and strange around her. She found herself lying on a metal bed, with glowing screens and machines beside her. Her baby was safe, wrapped in a soft blanket. But when she tried to sit up, she realized something terrifying. Her hands were chained to the bed, and she did not know if the humans who saved her were truly rescuers, or something far more dangerous. A sharp light burned Lyra's eyes as she woke. Her heartbeat jumped, fast and painful. Cold metal touched her wrists, and she realized the chains were real. For a moment, she could not breathe. She looked around in panic, trying to remember where she was. The room was not like the dark ruins she came from. It was bright, clean, and full of strange human machines. Blue lights blinked softly, and a warm hum filled the air. Her baby lay in a small bed nearby, wrapped safely, sleeping peacefully. But the sight did not calm her heart. Humans were dangerous. She had been taught. Humans were powerful. Humans took what they wanted. So why would they save her? Why would they save her baby? Before she could make sense of anything, the door slid open with a low hiss. Evan stepped inside, his armor removed, wearing a simple uniform. He looked less threatening without his helmet, but Lyra still froze in fear. He noticed the fear in her eyes and slowed his steps. "It's all right," he said softly. "You're safe." But the word safe meant nothing to her now. "Why am I chained?" Lyra whispered, her voice shaking. "To protect you." Evan answered, then quickly corrected himself. "To protect everyone, including you. You fainted and woke in panic. We needed to make sure you did not hurt yourself." His explanation did nothing to calm her. She pulled against the chains, her breathing fast. "My baby," she cried. "Do not touch him. Do not take him." Evan lifted his hands, showing he was unarmed. "No one is taking him," he said. "He is fine." The doctor checked him. "He only needs food and rest." Lyra's throat tightened. She had never heard such a calm voice from a soldier. But fear still wrapped around her like iron. A moment later, the human doctor entered, a woman with warm eyes and steady hands. She carried a small bottle, filled with milk-like liquid. She gently fed the baby, who reached for her with tiny fingers. Lyra watched, stunned. Her people had always said humans had no kindness. Yet here was a human feeding her child with more care than some from her own tribe ever had. Her heart softened, only for a moment. "Still?" she asked with trembling fear. "Why are you helping us?" Evan sat on a chair beside her bed, folding his hands. "Because you needed help," he said simply. Lyra did not understand such an answer. Nothing in her world came without a price. Evan could see confusion on her face. He sighed, rubbing his forehead. "Look. Many humans came to your planet for peace missions, not war," he explained. "But your people and our people never trusted each other, and things went wrong. Not all humans are soldiers. Not all are enemies." Lyra listened, unsure what to believe. Her people only remembered pain. But Evan's words felt different. He spoke like someone who had also lost much. Suddenly, an alarm beeped in the hallway, loud and sharp. Evan stood up quickly, eyes tense. 2 human soldiers appeared in the doorway. One of them glared at Lyra like she was dangerous prey. "Commander wants her moved to the main base," the soldier said. "She and the infant must be examined properly." Lyra's heart dropped. She remembered the stories of humans experimenting on aliens. She struggled against her chains again, crying out, "No, please, do not take us. I beg you." Evan stepped between her and the soldiers. "She is not a prisoner," he said firmly. "She needs rest. The baby needs care." "You can't move them like this." The other soldier frowned. "You broke protocol when you brought her on board, Evan," he said. "Now command wants answers. And they want the alien mother under supervision." The word alien mother hit Lyra like a knife. She felt reduced to nothing. Not a person, not a life, just a problem to study. Her arms trembled and tears filled her eyes. Evan saw the fear and anger in her expression. He turned toward the soldiers again, his voice colder now. "I will talk to the commander myself," he said. "No one touches her or the baby until I get back." The soldiers hesitated, but Evan's tone left no room for argument. They stepped back and left the room. When the door closed, silence returned. Lyra stared at Evan with wide, uncertain eyes. She did not trust him fully, not yet, but he was the only one who defended her. The only one who spoke to her like she mattered. Evan walked closer, lowering his voice. "I know you are scared," he said, "but I promise I won't let them hurt you or your child." Lyra swallowed hard, her voice barely a whisper. Why? Why do you care? Evan looked at her baby, then at her. Because no mother should feel helpless, he said. No one should be forced to choose between life and death. Before Lyra could reply, the hallway alarm went off again, louder this time. A warning flashed on the wall screen, unidentified forces near the ship. Lyra felt her blood freeze. She recognized that signal. The hunters had found them, and they were coming. The alarm continued to scream through the hallway, sharp and cold. Red lights flashed across the walls, painting the room in warning colors. Lyra felt her whole body stiffen with fear. Hunters were close, too close. She knew their engines, their sound, their smell of metal and fire. They never stopped until their prey was caught. Evan rushed to the control panel on the wall and pressed several buttons. The chains around Lyra's wrists clicked open. "You need to move," he said quickly. Now Lyra stood, weak but determined, pulling her baby close against her chest. Her legs trembled, but she forced herself to stay upright. Fear did not matter now, only survival. The door slid open, and the hallway outside was filled with smoke and flashing lights. Human soldiers ran in every direction, shouting orders. One soldier stopped when he saw Lyra. "What is she doing free?" he snapped. Evan stepped in front of Lyra like a shield. "I released her," he said firmly. "We are evacuating." The soldier's eyes narrowed. "You are betraying your orders." Evan didn't flinch. "I am protecting civilians." Lyra did not understand everything they said, but she felt tension growing around them. Evan guided her down the hallway. "Moving quickly, stay close," he said. "Don't stop for anything." Lyra nodded. Holding her child tightly, the ship shook violently, throwing both of them against the wall. A deep explosion echoed through the metal structure. "The hunters are firing on us," Evan muttered. His voice was calm, but his eyes showed fear. They reached a security door that required a code. Evan typed fast, but the red light refused to turn green. "Come on," he whispered, trying again. Footsteps echoed behind them, loud and angry. The soldiers from earlier appeared. "Weapons ready. Step away from the alien," one of them ordered. "She is coming with us." Lyra stepped back, clutching her baby. Her heart racing, Evan stood taller. Loki the soldier's view of her. "No," he said. "She is not going anywhere with you. You are breaking military rules." The soldier growled. "You will be punished for this." Evan's jaw tightened. "Then punish me later," he said. "Right now, we need to survive." A loud metallic crash shook the hallway. The lights flickered, then went out for a moment. When they returned, the soldiers looked uncertain. The ship was falling apart, piece by piece. The hunters were not giving up. Evan took the chance and typed a manual override into the panel. A loud click sounded, and the door finally opened. "Move," he said. Pulling Lyra through, the soldiers shouted behind them. But the door slammed shut before they could follow. Lyra and Evan ran down a narrow maintenance tunnel. Pipes lined the walls and steam hissed around them. The air was hot, and every step echoed loudly. Lyra breathed heavily, but she kept moving. Evan checked over his shoulder every few seconds. "They won't stop," Lyra whispered. Her voice trembled. "Hunters never stop." Evan nodded. "I know," he said. "But they won't reach you. Not while I'm here." The tunnel ended at a small hatch. Evan opened it and climbed down a ladder, helping Lyra follow. Below them was an emergency escape bay. The room was small, but full of survival equipment. Evan moved quickly, opening lockers and dragging out old armor pieces. He handed Lyra a blanket-like shield cloth. "Wrap your baby in this," he said. "It absorbs energy blasts." Lyra wrapped her baby tightly, kissing his forehead. Her hands shook, but she stayed focused. She looked at Evan. "You are risking your life for us," she said softly. "Why?" Evan paused, his eyes dark with memories. "I once lost someone because no one helped them," he said. "I won't let that happen again." The ship groaned above them, metal twisting from pressure. A loud crash signaled that the hunters had broken inside. Evan grabbed Lyra's arm gently. "We need to go," he said. He opened a small door that led outside the ship, into an underground passage under the landing zone. It was dark, wet, and cold, but safe for the moment. They moved through the narrow tunnel, the only light coming from Evan's wrist device. Lyra whispered, "You saved me from the cliff." Evan looked at her, surprised by the sudden words. "And now you save me again," she continued. "Even when your own people try to stop you?" Evan shook his head. "My people are confused, scared, just like yours," he said. "But helping you is the right thing." The tunnel opened into a larger chamber. Old vehicles and storage crates were scattered around. "This place is abandoned," Evan said. "But we can hide here for a while." Lyra sat on the ground, holding her baby close. Her entire body ached, but she felt something new, something warm inside her chest. A small spark of trust. Evan sat opposite her. Keeping watch, outside, distant explosions shook the ground again. The hunters were still searching. The human soldiers were still fighting. Chaos ruled the world above. But in that dark, underground chamber, for the first time, Lyra did not feel alone. The underground chamber was quiet, but the silence did not bring peace. It felt heavy, like the world above was holding its breath before something terrible happened. Lyra sat with her baby wrapped tightly in the shield cloth, gently rocking him. His small breaths steadied her for a moment, reminding her why she had to keep fighting. Evan stood near the entrance, scanning the tunnel with sharp eyes. Every muscle tense, he knew danger was getting closer. He could feel it in the trembling ground. For a few minutes, they said nothing. Only the distant rumble of explosions echoed through the earth. Lyra finally whispered, "They are coming, Evan." Evan looked over his shoulder, meeting her worried eyes. "I know," he answered. "But we'll be ready." Lyra shook her head slowly, fear darkening her face. "No, you do not understand," she said, her voice trembling. "The hunters are not just soldiers. They track through energy, through scent, through memories." Evan frowned. "Confused? Memories?" he repeated. Lyra nodded. "Yes, they have a leader, a seeker. He remembers the energy signature of every living thing he hunts." Her hands shook as she held the baby close. "He remembers me. He remembers my child." Evan stepped forward, surprise flashing in his eyes. "Why would they hunt a child?" he asked. "What do they want from him?" Lyra hesitated, then spoke the words she had kept hidden. "My baby. He carries a rare core energy, something ancient, something powerful." She swallowed, afraid of how Evan might react. The hunters believe this energy can power their machines and control their weapons. Evan's eyes widened, shock mixing with anger. "So they want to turn your baby into fuel." Lyra nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. Evan suddenly felt the weight of the situation like a stone on his chest. He had only meant to save a mother and child, but now he realized he had become part of something much bigger, something dangerous. Something that could decide the future of two worlds. A sudden metallic screech echoed through the tunnel. Evan dropped into a defensive stance, pulling Lyra gently behind him. "What was that?" she whispered. Evan switched his wrist device to thermal scan. A red shape appeared at the far end of the tunnel, slowly moving closer. "It's only one signature," Evan said carefully, "but it's large." Lyra's breath caught. "It's the Seeker," she whispered, shaking. "He has found us." The shape stepped into view, and even Evan flinched at the sight. The Seeker was tall, covered in black armor that looked like it was grown, not built. Its eyes glowed with pale blue fire, shifting like smoke. Strange symbols moved across its skin like living tattoos. It did not walk so much as glide, silent and deadly. Lyra's legs weakened. "That is him," she whispered. "He will not leave without the child." Evan took a protective step toward her and lifted his weapon. "You are not touching them," he said firmly. The Seeker tilted its head, studying him like a curious predator. A deep voice echoed from the creature, not spoken through a mouth, but through the air itself. "Human," it said, "step aside. The child belongs to us." Evan shook his head. "He belongs to no one," he replied, "and you are not taking him." The Seeker raised a hand, and a powerful wave of energy shot forward, cracking the floor and sending dust flying. Evan pushed Lyra back behind a pillar before the blast reached them. The chamber shook violently, stones falling from the ceiling. Evan fired his weapon, beams of light striking the Seeker's armor, but the creature barely moved. The Seeker spoke again. "You cannot protect them," it said. "You are weak." Human Evan tightened his grip on the weapon, eyes burning with determination. "Then I will die trying," he answered. Lyra felt her heart twist. She had seen many warriors face the Seeker. None had survived. She looked down at her baby, whose eyes now glowed faintly beneath the cloth. The energy inside him was waking up, reacting to the Seeker's presence. The Seeker sensed it too. He turned his gaze toward Lyra. "There," he said. "The core energy rises." Lyra backed away. Desperate. "Stay away from him," she cried. The Seeker advanced, but Evan threw himself into its path. The creature struck him with a single blow, sending him crashing against the wall. Lyra screamed. Evan slid to the ground, coughing, pain shooting through his chest, but he forced himself up again, standing despite the agony. "I'm not letting you touch them," he said, through clenched teeth. Lyra felt something warm against her arms. She looked down and gasped. Her baby was glowing brighter, soft pulses of blue light spreading from his small body. The shield cloth could barely contain the energy. The Seeker stepped forward, excited. "Yes," he hissed. "The power awakens, but something unexpected happened." The baby's energy shot outward like a wave. It hit the Seeker directly, throwing the creature across the chamber. The ground cracked beneath the impact. The Seeker roared in anger and shock. This had never happened before. No infant had ever resisted him. Evan stared in awe. Lyra held her baby tightly, whispering calming words. The glow slowly faded, but the room remained warm with leftover energy. The Seeker rose again, weaker now, but filled with rage. "This is not over," he growled. He vanished into the shadows of the tunnel, leaving behind a threat that chilled both their hearts. Evan limped back, toward Lyra. "Your baby." "He saved us," he whispered. Amazed, Lyra nodded, though her eyes were full of fear. "Yes," she said softly. "But now the Seeker will return with more," and Evan knew she was right. The hunters would come again, stronger, and next time the whole world might feel their arrival.